Alright, so I'm going to try this again. I got like 15 minutes into my last recording before I was told that I don't have enough disk space. So I think I've got it set up now that it'll record to my external hard drive, which is 4 terabyte, nice boy, that is substantially larger than my 450 gig hard drive. Not that I'm complaining about either, because I appreciate both of them. Thank you, memory gods that are memorizing good things. But that's okay. That last video that I tried to make was a little bit haywire. It was a little all over the place. I didn't really have any organized way to tell my stories and say the things I was going to say. So we're going to try this again. I was in my downtime. We can call it the mopey period. Trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I came up with a couple of like concrete stories instead of just going with what was ever on the top of my head. Before I get into that, this is Minecraft, kind of. This is Sky Factory 4, which you can find it in your Twitch launcher if you have Minecraft, not Java Edition, the other one. And also, you obviously have to have Twitch. I don't think you have to have Twitch Prime or anything. I know I do because I am a little dick like that. But if you're interested, go for it. It's fun. It's also something, if you want to go for it, it's a big file size. It takes a lot of RAM, but if you can do it, it's fun. Check it out. There's videos all over the internet for it. So, I came up with 2 stories that I want to tell. One of them has to do with lying to people. Not just specifically lying, not just people, but specifically lying to adults. So, backstory, preface. You ready? Buckle up, kids. Here we go. By the way, I forgot to even fucking say it. Damn it. This is storyry time. The time where Rai tells stories. I took a hiatus because I couldn't really get motivated to do anything, but I've kind of got a routine going again, and I think I'm hopefully gonna make a schedule, or at least a rough estimate of like I'm gonna put out a video a week or some shit like that. I'll eventually run out of stories. I promise I don't. None of these stories are made up. I threw things on the ground. But here we go. So, lying to people, right? Lying's not good. You learn that from a very early age. Thanks, Elmo. And lying should never be done. And I'm not advocating that people go out and start lying to each other, because that would be real shitty. But once upon a time, storyry time, that's me, was in high school. And in high school I was an athlete. I did the athletic stuff. I don't want to divulge too much information about myself, but let's just say I did a sport that was less than popular. At my high school, it was pretty well known because we were a pretty damn great team. But outside of that, really, people don't think about this sport too often. In high school, obviously school comes first. School should always come first. Stay in school. School is good. I firmly believe that school is a good thing and that people should go to school and shit. But in my particular high school, there was this awesome epidemic, I guess, of athletes just being dumber than a box of fucking rocks. Terrible grades, even though we were supposed to have a certain GPA to be able to perform, or not perform, but perform our sport. Which is fine, I understand that, but I feel like checking in on those grades should be up to the coaches, not up to the students. But no, buckle up, teenage Rai, because you are now in charge of checking in with all of your teachers once a week. You have to have them write down your grade on a little slip of paper and sign it. Sounds like super taxing work. 7 classes a day, 7 signatures a week, pass your classes. I have only failed 1 class, and I didn't even technically fail it because they let me drop out of it before I was there. And that also was in college, which is a whole different story. Maybe that'll be the next story I tell. That will be the next story I tell. Why not? But in this particular instance, Rai didn't agree with the policy. Rai said, but the football players don't have to do this, which they did. But it was very, we're going to say corrupt. That's the best word that we can say for it. Because I know for a fact that if football players at my high school at this time, I'm not saying they do this anymore, but at the time, if they were failing a class, their coach could reach out and say, it'd be really cool if my player, my lead quarterback, wasn't failing this class. And then I just fucking died. Maybe. No, I should live. But people were getting away with it left and right because they were good at their sport or whatever the hell the case was, and I thought that wasn't right. So the occurrence happened, that the time came, and it was time for Rai to get signatures. And Rai did not get signatures. Rai shit the bed and forgot. My fault. My bad, guys. But instead of not turning it in like a lazy bum or something like that, Rai decided to get on his little website because we had access to our grades. We weren't a bunch of fucking heathens. We were able to like look at our grades and say like, oh, I need to talk to this teacher about this, all that fun stuff that should not really be left up to high schoolers. Again, should be left up to the teachers and to the coaches. Although taking responsibility is cool. If you're a student, take responsibility for yourself. It always looks good. But I did the thing. By doing the thing, I mean I forged signatures for my teachers, knowing damn good and well that I had straight A's, and that anyone that looked at my paper would basically just go, yep, surprise, surprise, he's got straight A's. But in my teenage ignorance, I forged all those signatures, 7 signatures, or I think I had a couple, so like a few signatures, and I forged them all in the same pen, thinking if I get called out on it, I'll just be like, yo, I gave that teacher my pen to sign the paper. The teachers also hated this too. I feel like I should say that, so it's not just the students. It eventually turned out to be a giant fucking waste of time because it was a corrupt system and they canceled it. But before that happened, Rai got caught forging those signatures and was supposed to be benched for a week. But oh no, Rai doesn't take that shit. So I marched my happy little, I was like 15, my happy little 15-year-old ass, that sounds weird, you know what I mean though, I marched my ass down to the principal's office, and the athletic director happened to be there at the same time. I said, principal, we're going to call him that, because his name's not actually really important, I don't honestly even know which principal it was, because I went to a fucking huge-ass high school that had like 6 principals. But I said, principal, I'm not sitting out. I am not going to sit out until you can prove to me and my coach, who didn't even know that I'd done this at the time, until you can prove to me and my coach that you are checking in depth on the grades of every athlete in the school. Because I also knew damn good and well that there were upwards of like 700 athletes, and that is way too much work for any 1, 2, or 3 people to do on a month or on a weekly basis. And in an act of sheer fucking awesomeness, they did not call my bluff. They straight up told me, arrogant ass little 15-year-old Rai, actually you're kinda right. It'd be cool if you could follow the directions and set the precedent. But technically, you got us. You caught us. Our hands are tied. We aren't capable of doing this stuff that we're supposed to. And they let me go. So, the takeaways from this story, I guess, number 1, don't put yourself in that situation in the first place. Be good people. Don't put yourself in the situation where you do something knowingly bad. Because I knew that what I was doing was wrong. Absolutely, I knew what I was doing was wrong. But also, as the adults, don't overdo your work because a handful of people are doing things that they shouldn't do, like letting athletes play sports without the correct GPAs. If the coaches could have taken care of it in the first place, this incident would have never happened. And I stand by that to this day. If the coaches were doing their part and checking up on their kids, on their grades, because they actually, surprise news alert, give a shit about their students, then I would have never, that system would have never been brought into place. Also, I guess if you really want another takeaway on the not so Mr. Rogers side of everything, if you're going to do something wrong, know what the fuck you're doing, because I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly what I was going to say if I got called out on it. But since I knew the actual situation and the real life implications, and that this was not a real life scenario, and yes, forging signatures is super illegal in most cases, but this was not a legally binding document in any way, shape, or form. nor was it anything that really could have like super hardcore impacted my life. I was a straight A student. I was on the honor roll. I was in the good graces of everyone I encountered. So when it came to time to graduate, they weren't going to be like, "Oh, remember that one time? Also, we're not going to sign off on this letter of recommendation or anything like that." So I had enough weight behind myself, even my freshman year or sophomore year or whenever this happened of high school, to know that I was going to be okay in the situation. It was super uncomfortable though. So the real Rai moral that I want you all to take away from this is just do the right fucking thing. Don't shortcut yourself, because it always bites in the ass, and it caused me more stress than just getting those signatures or turning in my paper late. Worst comes to worst, I turned in my paper late and I don't know, they shunned me or I had to sit out for practice or something. I don't know what's going to happen from that. Nothing apparently. What is bacon even used for? Diabetes. Moving on to my next story. And this is also kind of a story about doing the right thing and the wrong thing. More, in my opinion, more of the right thing than the wrong thing. So we're going to get... You know what? No, I don't want to tell that story. It's too dark. I already told a dark story. That story was about, violence in schools, and I don't want to talk about that one. So instead, I want to talk to you about how to handle people that you don't want to handle. So here we are, several years after the signature incident. And Rai is in college, and Rai is not doing great in college. But neither is anyone else, as I found out after many years of not being in college anymore. I'm older than most people think, which is still not that old. But Rai was studying something very specific. In the sake of keeping who I am at least semi-anonymous, I'm not going to say what I was studying, because it's super easy to figure out if you know where I went to school or what I studied. But as it was, there were not a whole lot of people at Rai school studying the same thing. The thing that Rai was studying. Rai had every single class with this girl. We're going to call this girl... fuck me. I don't know what to call her. We're going to call her Sarah. Rai had every single class from his first year of college to his last year of college with Sarah, except one. She was in orchestra, and I don't play a string instrument, so I was not in orchestra. That's pretty cut and dry, nothing wild there, right? But Rai caught Sarah cheating on a test. And Sarah and Rai are friends, still are, to this day, even though it's been a few years since we've seen each other. And Rai knows, in his deepest heart of hearts, he was going to fail the test too, just like she was. And that's what kind of pissed me off. Because in reality, she would have absolutely failed this test. Sarah would have definitely bombed it just as bad as Rai and everyone else in the class. But Sarah decided she was going to cheat. She was going to be looking in her backpack where she had her cheat sheet and just kind of oh, I got to scratch my face. Oh, look, the answer is B. Shit like that. Rai was going, oh, hell no. If I fail, I'm not going to be the only one. Also, cheating is wrong. Don't fucking cheat, kids. Not a good plan. On anything or anyone. Don't cheat on people either. That's just a real shitty thing to do. But don't cheat on tests. So Rai takes a test. Turns out I got a C+. So actually not an awful grade for Rai at least. High school Rai would have been pissed off with a C+, but college Rai, way different. After that test, I decided to go up to my professor. We're going to call her Professor Peanut Butter. I looks at it and I says, so Professor Peanut Butter, I would like to talk to you in your office in private. Which is, for any college professor, I'd imagine that's about the most horrifying thing that you could ever fucking hear. But Professor Peanut Butter says, okay. She was a real chill lady. Really, really nice lady. She no longer works at that particular institution, just because things changed. But anyway, I digress. I got in her office and I said, Dr. Peanut Butter, I hate to do this. I hate to cause waves. I hate to be the person, the squeaky wheel that you have to listen to. But Sarah was cheating on the test. And Dr. Peanut Butter, in a very calm manner, says, well, Rai, how do you know? I said, Dr. Peanut Butter, she was looking in her backpack every 3 seconds. I guess technically I don't know for sure if she was cheating. Maybe she just was taking care of a cat in her backpack or something. But I'm pretty sure she was cheating. So Dr. Peanut Butter grades the test, and it finds out that Sarah got an exact 100% on her test, and compared that to the rest of our class, and found out that nobody in that class got a higher grade than a B. So actually, storyry's test grade of a C minus or a C plus was not too awful. Thanks. There's a good old pat on the back for you, storyry. And Dr. Peanut Butter says, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I've got a plan for this. I need you to trust what's gonna happen in class tomorrow." It wasn't tomorrow. It was like an every other day class. But whatever. You get the point. And storyry says, "Okay, I hope something is done about this." And she just kind of gave me a nice little smile and says, "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. It'll be taken care of." Now, in college, if you cheat, that is a big no-no. Like the biggest no-no that there is in all of the no-no land. Don't cheat in college, especially. Because people work really hard, like Rai, and still only get C minuses or C pluses. I can't, for the life of me, get my words right. So the next day of class comes around, and storyry is like, "Okay, this is the day. Something's gonna happen." We get the exact same test, but it was a good amount of it was multiple choice, and some of it was like, "Oh, defend this point of view, defend that point of view." It was the exact opposite, and on top of that, Dr. Peanut Butter had us all take our backpacks and leave them outside the classroom. So storyry, who studied and knew the information, at least to a C plus ability, basically got the exact same grade. But Sarah, on the other hand, on her first test, got 100. On her second test, got like a 50%. I only know this because Sarah would tell storyry about all this awesome things, like, "I got 100 on my test." But when she comes back and it was like, "I got my test back and I had a really bad grade." I was like, "Well, what happened?" And good old Sarah, give her what she's worth. She might have cheated the first time around, but she could not cheat the second time around because she didn't know what was going to happen. And by that time, she'd gotten rid of her little cheat sheet. She just full honesty says, "Well, Rai, I cheated on my first test. I cheated. I wish that, I don't know why, I don't know if she found out somehow, but I guess that's why we had to take the test again." And storyry was just very quiet. I'm assuming she knows it was me that was like telling Dr. Peanut Butter all the goodies, all the hot tips. But Sarah, being a good Sarah person, never was like, "You were the one that told. I hate you forever." And we're still friends to this day, so that's cool. So, moral of the story, don't cheat. Also, make friends that are forgiving and understanding, and, I mean, ideally don't cheat also. That would be cool. That would have made things a lot easier if Sarah hadn't cheated. Let's see. I want to tell you one more story. And this is a story. This is going to be a little bit of personal information. But Rai was in a fraternity in college. When you say fraternity, you think of like Animal House, like getting super drunk and having lots of sex and stuff. No. Back up, motherfuckers. A fraternity is not that. It is sometimes. In a lot of places, that's what fraternities are looked at as. And a lot of times, that's what fraternities do. Not Rai's fraternity. If you couldn't tell by me playing Minecraft on my YouTube videos, I'm kind of a fucking nerd. That's the fact of life. Deal with it. If you don't like it, don't talk to me. That's kind of the way life goes for Rai. I've lost friends. I've never made friends, I guess, because I'm a nerd. But I've also made some dope-ass nerd friends. It works out for Rai. Rai doesn't really care. But here is Rai and his fraternity. And my fraternity was very oriented towards what I was studying. So let's say, for instance, I was an English major. This is a fraternity full of, like, English major people, or people that are studying English, or just really like it. There was another fraternity on this campus that was in the same area. They were doing the same stuff. Like, "Oh, we study this stuff. You study that stuff. We all study the same stuff." In my mind, like, why wouldn't we just combine forces? Like, you're a member of, like, this is one united front, one united fraternity. We're all being good people, doing good stuff, studying the same stuff, talking about the same stuff. But I'm sure that the powers that be are like, "Nah, we want more. We want more." There was an upperclassman. We're going to call this upperclassman, we're going to call this one Claire. So Claire was in the other fraternity, the not nerdy, play video games on a Friday night instead of getting drunk with your buddies fraternity. Yeah, I say fraternity. Fraternities can be co-ed. Surprise, surprise, motherfuckers. Fraternities can be men and women, boys and girls, whatever you want to call them. She was in we call it a professional one. I'm not sure if that's a term that's used anywhere else, but it's like this looks really good on a resume, whereas mine was like, this is something that's really fun to do. And it indeed was really fun to do. But she, as an upperclassman, also had the unique position to tutor the underclassmen. And in doing so, she met all of us as freshmen. She was a senior when I was a freshman. And I did not join a fraternity until the spring semester, so I'd already gone through 4 or 5 months of being at this university, at this college, before I made my choice. And once I made that choice, this girl Claire, I believe is what I was calling her, went very far from checking in on me to see if my classes were going well, if I need any help with anything like that, to running student groups and stuff like that, to a point that she wouldn't even look at me, would not make eye contact, wouldn't talk to me, would basically scoff anytime I walked past. And I kind of understood what was going on, but kind of didn't at the same time. So I, in my naivete, said, Claire, what's going on? And this, pardon my French, this bitch, she looks at me and says, I had higher expectations for you. I thought you could have done something with your life. I thought you could have been a real good English person. We're saying I'm English, and I'm studying English in this, even though I did not. You could have been a really good English person. But no, you chose to take this route and choose this group of people over my group of people. Something that you probably have gathered, or at least should know about Rai, is that Rai is a very laid-back, go-with-the-flow, whatever the fuck happens, happens person. Right now we're in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, I am very concerned about all the things going on. Keep whatever comments and opinions you have to yourself, because at this point I really don't care about them. Rai does not want to get this dangerous COVID-19, but Rai also realizes that I might. I very well might. There's a chance I have it right now, talking to you. This might be the last time I can talk about this from the outside perspective, and the next video I put up is about my experiences. Who knows? Who the fuck knows? But if I get it, I get it. It's kind of the way things are. Welcome to the life of Rai. And I'm okay with that. Is this the right way? This is the right way. Rai says something along the lines of, I'm sorry that you're so disappointed, but your fraternity just wasn't as appealing to me as this other fraternity. And it was like I punched her in her face. She ended up going so far as to put in a bad word with my professors, because obviously she knew them too. We were studying the same thing. And that pissed me off. I'll say it. That pissed me off. So, Sarah, if you're listening to this, you pissed me off. Don't do that shit. Don't talk bad because I made a different choice than you. Accept me for being different, or just shut the fuck up and get out of my fucking life. Luckily, she graduated soon thereafter, and I didn't have to deal with her again, except on the very rare occasion. But, and this is your story, your life about reputations. She very much ruined my reputation with 2 or 3 professors that I had to see very frequently. And it took me many a class, an email to get back in their good graces, even though I never really should have been in their bad graces, at least for that. If anything, they should have really despised me for my grades, because those were goddamn fucking atrocious. So, I guess, here's your moral for this story. There's a couple of them. Number 1, if you are Sarah, just don't be a fucking bitch. You do you, let me do me. If I'm making a poor choice, it'll show in the future. You don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell everyone about my poor choices. Moral from story Rai side. Haters gonna hate, potatoes gonna potate. Be a potato and just potate. It's gonna happen. Shit happens. Deal with it. If there's nothing you can do to fix it in the moment, like my story with Sarah, if there's nothing to do, things are gonna happen. That's fine. Things happen. Shit happens. But don't underestimate how it could affect others that hear your story. If I would have gone around telling everyone that Sarah cheated on her test, Sarah would be fucking devastated by that, especially since we were friends. At least with this Claire girl, I wasn't really friends with her. We were just acquaintances. She was my tutor, if anything. That being said, as a petty side note, Sarah, I hope you're doing very well. I am currently doing exactly what I studied for and loving it, so, fuck you. That's cool. Yeah, but that's my storyry time for this. Ooh, my gravel grew. That's my storyry time for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you didn't, fucking that's fine. That's your opinion. Like I said, you do you. I'ma do me. If I'm not trying to kill you and you're not trying to kill me, we'll be fine. Cool? Cool. Adios.